They're manipulating everything. Everything is being manipulated. And if you don't know how to play the game, you're going to be left out in the cold. So many people have asked me, how can I learn how to do some of the stuff that you talk about? And you have some of the guests on. So we have a webinar coming up on Wednesday, and it's with Ross Givens. And I want to let you guys hear this. Last week, we saw President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance drop the hammer on deep state fraud. Let me break it down for you in case you weren't paying attention, because this is huge and the mainstream media is barely even covering it. On Monday, the House Oversight Committee released a 205-page report. It was called The Cost of Doing Nothing. It named Tim Walz specifically, the man they wanted one heartbeat away from the presidency. And it also named specifically Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. The report was clear. Walz and Ellison knew all about the massive welfare fraud as far back as 2019. $9 billion in Medicaid fraud. $9 billion. $300 million in stolen nutrition funds. State employees tried to blow the whistle. They were intimidated. They were retaliated against. And then eventually they were silenced. The state had the power to stop the payments to the fraudsters, but they didn't. They chose not to because they feared bad headlines would hurt them politically. They let billions flow to criminal networks to protect their own political asses. Remember Feeding Our Future? Well, she just got convicted. $250 million scam. The ringleader was sentenced to nearly 42 years in prison for claiming to feed kids that didn't even exist. Within hours of that report, Vice President J.D. Vance, the chairman of the House Fraud Task Force, personally referred Tim Walz and Ellison to the DOJ's new fraud division. Vance said it plainly. Minnesota officials are not above the law. This is not talk. This is a criminal referral from the Vice President of the United States. And Minnesota, it's just the beginning, as you've been seeing on an almost daily basis. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says 10% of the entire federal budget, 10% of the entire federal budget, over $600 billion a year, is stolen through fraud. Trump's fraud task force, led by Vance, has already, and listen to this, they've already halted $260 million in Medicaid payments in Minnesota alone. They uncovered $6.3 billion in suspicious government contracts. They launched a national whistleblower program. The DOJ now has 8,000 active fraud cases. They just suspended over 400 hospice providers in Los Angeles alone. And with over $600 million in suspected fraud. It's mind-boggling. It's hard to even comprehend that this much money has been stolen, and we don't even know how far back they're going. They're also cracking down on election fraud. Dan Bishop is now chief election fraud prosecutor with nationwide power. This is a full-scale war on the deep state money machine. And for the first time in our lifetimes, we're winning. But here's what you need to understand. The same broken system that ignored welfare fraud for years. It also protects another kind of fraud. That kind of fraud that happens in plain sight, but it's actually not fraud. It's legal. It's on Wall Street. It's inside Congress. While Walz looked the other way on $9 billion in stolen money, members of Congress used insider knowledge, classified briefings, committee seats to trade stocks and make millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions. And unlike welfare fraud, congressional insider trading is completely legal. They wrote the rules that way to protect themselves. And that's why I'm excited to bring on my guest today, Ross Givens. He's a 20-year Wall Street veteran. He's a former broker, fund manager, and vice president of investment management at J.P. Morgan Chase. Ross is a leading expert on congressional insider trading. He's followed these trades for years, and he's taught thousands of people how to legally piggyback to beat the market. He's holding a live free training Wednesday, June 24th at 3 p.m. Eastern. And you can click the link in the description below, or you can scan the QR code or go to insidertradeswithbarry.com. To reserve your spot, it's free. Don't miss it. And now let's talk to Ross about all this stuff that's been going on. J.D. Vance just referred Tim Walz to the DOJ over $9 billion in fraud. And while that was happening, members of Congress were trading stocks on insider information. With your experience, how is this system not completely rigged against regular Americans?
Well, I think the tax system is. I mean, I'm so glad. I'd love to see Walz in a jumpsuit, because even if you were complacent, you know this is happening. See, people ask me about this insider trading stuff, and yes, absolutely, Congress does it. They're cheating, they're using information. But let's just play devil's advocate. When they're doing that, how many dollars are they stealing from me or from you? How many? Zero. It's not ethical, right? But like, if they buy a stock and it goes up, and everybody else who owns it made money too. So when you steal $9 billion of your and my labor, when you're taking tax dollars, that is a massive criminal offense that should be prosecuted. So, yeah, it's a two-tier system for sure. I won't say it's the stock market's rigged against the average American. I don't think that's the case. I do think it is rigged in favor of these politicians, though, because just the amount of information they have, what they learn in committee meetings, in bills they're passing that are going to affect certain industries in the market, and knowing when military action is going to be taking place or when big defense contracts are paid out. I mean, the certain companies, certain stocks are going to greatly benefit from that. And so if you know that information, you buy the stock early, it surges, you can make a lot of money. Pelosi made hundreds of millions of dollars doing just that.
You know, the other day we were on the show, we were talking about Gavin Newsom, and somebody showed me an article where it said he was gifted a $3 million house, and you know, it's rigged. I'm like, no, you have to understand, you just don't know the rules. People can give you whatever they want. I mean, I even told him how the guy from Victoria's Secret gave Epstein that $80 million mansion in New York. Yeah, it smells, it looks really bad, but it's completely legal. The problem is, and what you've been doing, is people don't know how to do it. So can you walk us through exactly how congressional members are even allowed to do this stuff? I mean, the classified briefings, the committee seats, how are they beating Wall Street from their government offices?
Well, I can explain the stock part. If you're looking to commit Medicare fraud, I'm not your guy. I don't know how to do that.
Well, that's illegal. That's illegal.
And look, listen, make no mistake. What they're doing, insider trading, is technically illegal. It's not ethical. I don't support it. The reason I don't let it work me up is because all their trades are public. When a member of Congress buys a stock, they have to report that publicly, or when they sell. The same is true for corporate insiders, CEOs, CFOs, vice presidents. All their trades are public record. And so if they're going to do this, which they've proven they are, we might as well follow along. We're paying their salaries. So who do you want stock picks from? Some guy at a Charles Schwab office, or Nancy Pelosi? Pelosi, 100 times out of 100, right? So you can use this for your own advantage. And again, I'm not saying it's okay what they're doing, but it just is not going to bother you so much if you made 10 grand or 20 grand piggybacking right alongside them. And so the reason we hold these free training events is to show people how to do this totally ethically, totally legally, but you can spot what they're buying when they're buying it. We look for these just obvious examples where, 3-4 members of this defense subcommittee who write the defense budget are loading up on this little random off the radar defense stock. Or, when someone on the financial services committee is loading up on some bank in the middle of monopoly legislation or something, right? And so if you follow along, you can do very well.
Who's teaching them? And why I say that, and just something that struck me, is it seems like as soon as they get elected, as soon as they get into Washington, they come from, bartender status or something, and all of a sudden they're worth $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. Is there somebody there who's taking them under the wing and saying, okay, here's what you need to do? I mean, it's not like something you can just all of a sudden learn.
Pelosi may have put together a training manual for all the junior senators. That's quite possible. My suspicion is this. So today in 2026, it's really hard to move money without a trace, right? I mean, you remember back in the 1980s, money laundering wasn't even a thing. It didn't exist. You could show up with a duffel bag full of cash and deposit at Wells Fargo, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Right.
Today, if I send you $20 on one of these cash sharing apps, there's a record of it.
Yeah.
So it's hard to bribe these people. My suspicion is if a certain, high-ranking executive wanted to win favor with one of these people and get them to vote a certain way, they might say, okay, I tell you what, this might be a stock you might want to buy right around here, right around this time. And there's no paper trail of it. To convict somebody of insider trading, which almost never happens, you have to prove that both they knew the information in advance and that they bought the stock with the intent of profiting from that private, non-public information. It's almost impossible to do. That's why Pelosi did this for 2 decades, never got so much as a slap in the wrist, even though the president of the United States himself stood up in the Oval Office with Elon, said, this sure is suspicious. We know she's doing it. Nothing happened. So when you've got the biggest face of Congress doing this for 17 years straight, these, as you said, junior senators come in, junior members of the House going, I guess this is okay to do. That's the example that was set. No one's ever gotten in trouble for it. Why shouldn't I make a couple million?
Of course, it makes sense. So tell me how the average working patriot can do these exact same trades when they don't have the Pelosi notebook sitting next to them. I mean, the congressional people are doing it. You're going to be teaching these strategies at the free training. And so with everything going on, the fraud crackdowns, the economy, all the uncertainty, what should everyday Americans be doing right now?
Well, that I think is the silver lining in all of this. They passed something called the Stock Act back in 2012. One of the guys that is going to stop them from insider trading. Funny thing about it is all it did was require them to disclose their trades. So it just helped us. They can still do it. They just have to report them publicly. And again, the corporate executives, your CEOs and the like, they have to report these things too. So, as any investor, anyone in the stock market, whether you've never bought a stock before or you're a full-time, you're looking for an edge, some kind of advantage, either some level of insight, like I saw a Tesla 10 years ago. I had the foresight to see it was going to be a big deal. I invested early and made 200 times my money, which most of us don't have. Or some level of access to information the general public does not have. I don't have that. I doubt you have that. Maybe at one little stock somewhere. So it stands to reason we want to follow the investments of people who know more than us. Who better to guess the earnings of the company than the chief financial officer who fills out the earnings report? Who best whether to predict how the drug trials go at a little pharmaceutical company than the guy running the drug trials, right? Who better to know who's going to win the big federal contracts than the people writing the budget? So it just kind of stands to reason these are the people you want to look to for advice. And so what we've done is, and we've been doing this for like 9 years now, make this real simple. So how do we take all this stuff, all these databases and trades and filter it down to just 4 or 5 that look like absolute no-brainers? Tons of people at the company are piling in for the first time in years. Several members of the committee are buying all at once. Somebody who never bought stock is now, and get in front of those. And the goal is, set yourself in front of what could be these blockbuster opportunities. And when you look at the corporate guys, like you imagine half the C-suites all putting in $200,000-$300,000 a piece in their stock. What are the odds they're going to do that before they report, we had a tragic quarter, we're closing all of our stores? They're not going to do that. So you're taking a lot of the risk away, not all of it, but you're reducing your risk by focusing on the stocks at the times the people who know them best believe it's a good investment. And then you filter it down further by the ones that have these signs of just obvious opportunistic activity. So that's what we try to show people how to do. I'm in South Alabama. I don't talk in jargon. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've had all the fancy securities licenses. I was VP at JP Morgan. Like I look fine on paper, but like this all is very, very simple. At the end of the day, a stock is a slice of a company. If that company sells more stuff and makes more money, it's going to go up in value, right? So anyone can do this. You just need to, what I try to do, kind of guide you and show you the ropes. Here's what to look for. Here's what our big winners all had in common. Here's a couple dozen examples. And so I hope people attend this event. It is free. It's online. It's like an hour. I'll show you how to do all this. I'll show you where the databases are, what to look for. In fact, everyone who registers, even if you can't come live, I'm going to send you our most recent stock research pick. So you're going to get all of our research, the stock, the ticker, where they're buying. And I think when you see what's available to you and the kind of information that's out there, it'll make you want to come that much more. We've had a lot of people really have their eyes opened and frankly completely change the way they invest and they pick stocks.
A bunch of people from our audience, the Fanfare family, as they're called, have come and loved it. And in fact, we're saying, why can't we come to the next one? And I got a question, and I always get this question because it's sort of like the people who, I guess they must cut their hair themselves because it says, why isn't this information just available to the public? Why do you have to go to the webinar? How come the average American just can't do this or get in on the trades they're by themselves?
Well, they can. Yeah, it's all free. Like, I don't hold the keys to any of this. It's all out there. And that's the thing. Like, it's readily available to everybody. They just don't know where to find it or how to use it. I mean, what does the government do that's run efficiently and smoothly? And nothing. So do you think that the website and the databases, they track their trades, going to be easy to use? No. Does the Securities and Exchange Commission have any interest in helping you find insider picks? No. So it's there in a giant document dump, but how do I know what to look for? So that's what I'm doing. You don't need me. My hope is after you see this, you'll know how to do this yourself. It's readily available. So I'm just kind of like a teacher showing you, here's what to look for, here's how to do this, here's where to find everything. And these are the ones that are probably going to be the best opportunities. And if you apply that yourself and make some money, fantastic.
Somebody I had told a couple of people you'd be on the show, and I got a question, and I love the question because it means they're actually doing their homework. Here's a question I got. Everybody was going crazy last week over SpaceX, but a lot of people didn't realize, even if you got the IPO, for most people, there was like a 15 or 16 day window before you could do anything. What would you advise people, or I mean, this is probably easy knowledge for you. I personally, I don't know if you're telling people wait until after the 15, 16 day period, but what do you foresee with, SpaceX?
Well, SpaceX, there's two things going on. So in the short term, any stock's going to move based on simple supply and demand, just like rare cars or coins or anything else. And there was such demand for this IPO, more than any IPO in the history of the world. It was 4x oversubscribed. And so because all those people wanted it and didn't get IPO, it was pretty obvious it was going to run the first few days. And it did. IPO'd at 135, hit the market at 150, hit like 210. A couple days after that, it was down to 190, 180, something like that. So that's kind of cooling off. Long term, it's massively overvalued. Like, it's a great company. I think if you held it for 10 years, you're almost guaranteed to do well. But right now, the stock is trading for 100 times sales.
Wow.
Most companies in the dot-com boom were trading at 10 times sales. So it's very, very overvalued. It's not as bad. Again, things can be great and not at this price. Like, you may find a house you love, but you're not going to pay $17 million for it, right? So the price today, they're kind of pricing in all this success. Basically, today it's trading at where it should be in like 2028, 2029. I think you're going to have a much better opportunity to buy this around August or September, because over the next couple of months, these unlocks happen. So the venture capitalists, the early investors, the people that are up 5,000%, when they can sell their shares and there's tens of billions of dollars worth, all that selling at once, all that supply hitting the market when demand's exhausted, is going to drive it down. So that's what I'd be looking for. But on that lockup window, and I don't think people realize this, it's not that you can't sell it for 15 days. They don't want you to. If you do, they may not let you participate in other IPOs. So Fidelity, I think if you sell it in 15 days, they won't let you have access to IPOs for the next 6 months. If you do it again, you're cut off for a year. If you do it again, you're cut off for good. So I tried to get a bunch of shares. They gave me like 10 shares. So if they gave me 100 or 1,000, I would have been selling all of them at 200. I'm going to take my 40, 50K profit and ban me for 6 months. I don't care, right?
I'll survive. I'll survive.
I'll be fine. And I said that on some YouTube videos, which may be why I didn't get very many. But yeah, if you're looking at it freaking out and you got it at 135, and let me see where this thing's at right now. I mean, as we speak, I don't know when this may air in a day or two. It's 185-ish, 190. Look, if you're up 40, 50% and you put a big chunk of money in this thing, you're up 40% in a week. That may be worth a 6-month IPO ban. You're probably not going to buy one for 6 months anyway. Most people had never bought one.
What you just said right there is worth the price. Well, it's free, but it's worth the time to spend with you, because everybody was talking about the 15, 16-day lockout, but nobody was saying what the penalty was. People thought they were going to take some of your shares, that they would fine you, and just the knowledge you just gave right there, that, yeah, you might not be able to get an IPO for 6 months, maybe you might get an IPO for 12 months, but you're still going to get, you're going to pull your profit and make a bunch of money. Yeah. I mean, so that just those little nuggets like that, everybody wants to learn how to do it, but they think they can do it themselves. And so you just laid out perfectly why it's so important for someone to actually show you what to do and how to do it. And you don't have to stay on the outside looking in. So if you want to understand how these trades actually happen, and more importantly, how you can legally spot and follow them, Ross is going to break it all down. Ross, how long is the live training?
Under an hour. I've refined this. I've been doing it for a couple of years. It's hard taking 10 years of your life's work and putting it in an hour, but I've got it pretty good now in all the key points. So it should be 45 minutes to an hour. I'll show you everything from start to finish. If you've never traded a stock, there is nothing I'm going to say it's going to be over your head. And, look, if you have nothing to lose, right? Worst case, as you said, you come away knowing something you didn't know before and how all this works. And you may be like some of our members who really leaned into this and done extra. I mean, I've got members who made hundreds of thousands of dollars following this stuff, over the years. So, I think it's one of the biggest advantages out there for the everyday regular investor. It's a way to actually give yourself an edge legally, ethically, without breaking any rules, without staring at screens all day, just looking for these obvious no-brainer opportunities with usually not a lot of downside and potentially really, really big upside. So I'm excited to share it again with your audience. They were fantastic the first time. Smart people, they ask great questions. Yeah. So if you went before, want to come again, want a refresher, more the merrier. What level?
You kind of just explained it, but I just want people to hear it directly from you. What level of experience do you need to get a benefit from this training?
None. I mean, you need to know how to do third grade math. You need to, be able to work a computer mouse. You need to understand what the words buy and sell mean. But, other than that, we're not getting into options and credit spreads and, credit default swaps. It's really straightforward. Like anybody can open an account of Fidelity or E-Trade or Robinhood. The commissions are zero. You can place trades from your phone. You can buy any stock in the world in 10 seconds from home. You can sell it just as quickly if you're not feeling good about it. So it's never been easier to be an individual investor. There's never been more opportunity out there. Right now, we have the market is just ripping higher. We've got, above average inflation, which you and I don't like at the pump and paying for groceries, but that also means asset prices, stock prices go up. We have a president who has made no qualms that he wants the stock market higher. It's kind of a scoreboard for him. We have AI, which is a once in a generation technological boom that is causing massive increases in efficiency. So we've got a lot of backdrafts at us, and that's powering the market higher. Things are going to get cheaper, right? So your choices are spend less or make more. And if we can find a way to make your money grow a little bit faster, or help you get in front of some of these opportunities, make a couple $1,000 here and there, that's my goal.
I have one last question for you. It's difficult for me, but you've been in the investment business for so long. I don't know how to answer it or even respond to some people who have a fear of prosperity. Everything President Trump is doing, he's always, like you said, talking about the stock market, talking about oil prices, trying to make things go boom. And it seems like a lot of people are afraid of prosperity. Do you counter? I mean, do you see that with some of the people? They're almost like they're afraid to dip their toe into this pool.
Yeah, I think look, I'm guilty of it, right? I had an old mentor of mine used to call. He said it's Alabama poor boy syndrome. You start making a few bucks, and you're like, I don't deserve this. I've got to give it away or spend it. But the other thing, I think a lot of people look at money and wealth, or whatever the heck you want to call it, as a zero-sum game. Yeah. And they think that every dollar you make takes a dollar from someone else. Elon Musk is a great example. He's hoarding money. He's worth $1 trillion. Like, he didn't take that from anyone. Right. And it's not cash anyway. It's pieces of paper. He was a trillionaire last week. He may be worth an 800 billionaire next week. Right. But we can all benefit from this. And the greatest example is, like, let's just say you could snap your fingers and overnight every single American had a PhD degree in engineering or robotics or some kind of hard science. What would we accomplish? I mean, we'd be able to deliver goods and services to people for fractions of the cost. Our lives would be better in every possible way. If you make $50,000 a year today, your life is better than the King of England 300 years ago in terms of actual quality of life. And so everyone wants to compare to how much he's got or he's got, but like, we can bring the quality of life up forever. We can all succeed. You know, it doesn't take from one cup and put in another. Absolutely. There's not a certain number of dollars and that's it. And so, it's a big world out there. Capitalism has made more wealth than anything else. And just when you hear these numbers, you're talking 9 billion here, 90 billion there, gone. Nobody's missed a beat. There's so much money out there.
Yeah.
So don't be scared to claim yours.
All right. So, Ross, this live trading is next Wednesday. As you're watching this right now, next Wednesday would be June 24th at 3 p.m. As you can see, it's Insider Trades with Barry. Just got the link right there, or it's in the description of the video. Either way. Ross, anything else you'd like to add before we part?
No, I appreciate you having me on. I love your show. Your audience has always been great and supportive, so I look forward to seeing them all again this Wednesday.
And I love it. And if you guys can't make it, or if you know somebody else who might want to go, feel free to share the link. Get it out to as many people as possible, because they'll end up thanking you once they sit down with Ross. Ross,
thank you.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Oh, my pleasure, Barry. Good to see you.
Thank you.